This is Candia Raquel, and you are at the Sensual Sessions Podcast, the place to explore sensing pleasure through your senses and moving in a way that it's free from inhibition and full of candor. And today we have a very special guest. This is Simon Paul Sutton. And welcome, Simon. This been like a 2-year project to have you here, so I'm very happy to welcome you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for trusting the divine orchestration.
Yeah, perfect timing. So I'm curious to know if you consider yourself a sensualist.
I consider myself as wanting to be more sensualist.
Wanting to be more sensualist.
Yes.
Why wouldn't be enough already?
Well, like sensuality is for me vulnerability as well, and I noticed that I'm comfortable to be sensual with selected beings. And so in this moment, because I know you and I love transparency,
Yes.
since coming out of a long relationship, and in the last year being over a year now, being very much with myself, and being I've noticed that I actually detached from even deeper intimacy with myself in this time. And in the process that I've been in, as I've come back into touch, it's one of the things I, like you, also share with the world, to be with ourselves in self-love, in self-touch and self-pleasure. I noticed that actually my body had shut down a little. Yeah. So I'd even shut down, let's say, shut down my senses a little. So sensuality for me is when I'm receptive and I'm open and my senses are open. And of course that can be to nature, to life, to everything. But through this process, I definitely noticed I shut down a little. And as I'm opening, you could say, I'm feeling a more openness happening at the moment. I can see that that's why I answered, I'm wanting to be more of a sensualist.
And it's so interesting because I invited you to come to the podcast like 2 years ago. Probably you were like working some things like behind scenes with that relationship, then the breakup, and now you're coming to the Sensual Sessions podcast. So it's fantastic, and it's also very meaningful what you point out on sensuality being a state of vulnerability and openness, because indeed when you open, you become receptive to pleasure. If pleasure is what's presented here, but if there's no pleasure being served here, you are open to whatever is going on. And I feel that's a very important aspect of transiting the world of having the discernment on when it's safe to open and be vulnerable and experience the senses, and when it's actually a good idea to be kind of shut down. Like there are places in the world nowadays that are kind of crazy. So it's like an interesting. And I am curious about the role that relationships could play in intimacy, because normally I am like all about self-sourced pleasure and then sharing it. Like actually my slogan is sense your fire to share the flame. But
I like that.
Yeah, it's nice. Though I recognize that there are states I immediately access through community or through the interaction with another person, whether in a relationship or not. And if I want to get in that zone or flow alone by myself, it feels like, okay, now I have my self-pleasure schedule session and I have to comply with it. So
Yeah.
I'd like to know your thoughts about it.
So just to be clear, like you mean that how sensuality weaves in to relationship, or how we use relationship to become more sensual.
Yeah, well, both. How you use relationship
Yeah,
to
yeah,
become more sensual.
yeah. So in this moment, what's still alive with me is something you said a moment ago. So I guess that kind of weaves in both hands. So this idea of sensuality being an access point to your pleasure, and also the level of vulnerability that it also evokes. And speaking as a male-bodied, identifying as a man, uh, I really love touch, and I really love receiving sensual touch and intimacy. And simultaneously, I notice that when I said earlier, I'm quite selective to who that is at times, but often that filter is a protection mechanism that actually I'm starting to realize is often blocking me from receiving sensuality in a very what's the word, like non-sexual, non-needy way, just to receive sensual touch, sensual intimacy, um, because it seems to trigger something in me around, at times, a conditioning that I have around, does somebody want something else from me when that begins, or do I have to then give more than I may want to give? And then it challenges sometimes my ability to communicate clearly my own desires and boundaries and what I want and don't want. And yeah, just because I've been quite insular, I noticed when I had little few moments of intimacy that there's been a not extreme, but like subtle sense of fear associated to that, coming up, and not wanting to, let's say, give myself or even offer that I'm available for anything else. So one thing I have noticed, I'm going to come back to the piece about relationship. One thing I have noticed is that if I can sometimes find that sensuality with the same sex, there's sometimes less fear associated. So I can receive touch, I can receive the beauty of touch, the groundedness of just shared intimacy, and in my case, I don't have then this this little fear that's been surfacing. And I know that's just a part in me. I know that that's also blocking some aspects of my deeper connection. And the piece I want to say to that, the reason why that happened is I did have a small encounter, and I'm very one of my passions is about the level of transparency and communication, and there's like a talk that I share online called the RBDSM talk. It's like a safer, braver sex talk that, in these circles that we navigate in, are often, there's different acronyms for it, but the one that I use is like the RBDSM A. And I noticed that the level of intimacy and presence and time that is required to sometimes go into deeper intimacy, or sensuality, I've noticed that now I kind of have a reservation on that, because of what might be required from me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And it's like what can be expected of oneself that is not like properly agreed, but like we all have like these societal defaults of like if we get entangled in any kind of interaction, like there's a setup, no? Like, are we gonna enter a situationship if we like become intimate and sleep together? Meaning we not only explore sensuality but also arousal and sexuality, or otherwise maybe we are just talking and flirting, and perhaps there's on one side the expectation of a one night stand, and on the other side the expectation of marriage and kids and a life together, and then communicating that, and like the exposure of this is my desire and the fear of rejection, even if like we are mature and conscious being, like it's easier to take an L, but it's still a blow, especially because you are open, and this communication is very important. But at the same time, sometimes it's lovely when it happens natural, like we are on the same page and we read each other cues and we have like the perfect timing, and then
Yeah.
even commitment is a natural unfolding.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, yeah, but I don't know. I just want to jump in there and say somehow I don't know now in this kind of, let's say, I share many of these words very lightly, but let's say the kind of new, uh, I even say the word new age, but the kind of sacred sexuality, the world of like relationship now, conscious relating, and so on. I was laughing with a friend recently, and like all this talk, of course, about re-traumatization and nervous system, you know, which I'm totally an advocate for, and understanding attachment styles, and we've all got our wounds and traumas that we're bringing to a relationship. I'm all for this. And then I said to myself, when I was younger and I didn't know any of this stuff, it was way easier just to connect and have some fun.
Yeah, and you know what? I am even getting the goosebumps because yeah, and I mean we are like in a crucible because when you don't have all like this framework and okay, if that person is doing that, it means that, so maybe I should say that or set a boundary now or express my desire timely and be vulnerable and etc. It's a lot of conscious work, but the conscious work on the realm of the discursive thinking. And that
Right.
sometimes we as Westerners somehow can let that override the immediate cues of the body
Yes.
that we are more attuned to survival. So we instinctively like get repulsed when the other person is giving like a sign that we are not a good match. Or you
Right.
repulse the other person because you're like "Rawr," or you're like whatever. And it's
Yeah.
like more immediate and transparent, almost like the communication in the sandbox of a kindergarten that kids like connect and play together and then they disagree and cry and go to different corners and then they make peace and like they live in their own like non-discursive very transparent world. And I feel that perhaps in a way all this going through our traumas and knowing our attachment styles is like a journey to go to that essential natural state. But I don't know if in the meantime we are actually being like derailed.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And as you're speaking, like this last almost year and a half, I've been exploring more with this Richard Schwartz method of internal family systems. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's called IFS, internal family systems. And I bring that in not to get lost, but just as a context of, as I've been exploring more of my different parts, when we're talking about now coming to be in intimacy, right, to be in connection, to be in sensuality, to just share some desires, like you just said, it's beautiful when you just meet somebody else who maybe just wants to share some cuddles or just lay down and stroke each other's body for a moment of relaxation, you know, just let the nervous system relax. And like you said, that may soften the system, and when the system softens, of course, arousal, pleasure is more present. And then of course, if that pleasure and presence gets confusing or starts to move into something else, and then you know it's not clear and we're not attuned, as you said, because normally it's just there's something here, can we explore it? What I'm finding now in the narrative is that because there's a lot of talk, especially in the circles I'm in, of especially men, often the kind of generic man that I represent, of the alpha male, the white man, male supremacy, this kind of like we're just wanting sex and we're just out there like disrespecting and disregarding the opposite gender or any other gender to get what we want, and there's a lot of kind of labeling, and I fear associated to that, of this kind of generic projection of what a man is actually looking for. And yes, men are sexual beings, women are sexual beings, we are sexual beings. We want and desire touch and connection and intimacy and love and softness and care, and we want to be seen and loved and held, and we want to be chosen as well, right? I want to be chosen just as much as you want to be chosen. We all want to be chosen. I get goosebumps when I say that. And at the same time, we want to be able to explore very innocently as well. And I feel sometimes the innocence of sensuality, the innocence of my own exploration, is sometimes held back because of all this kind of stigma and fear-based projections that are in the field of relating, especially all the stories on apps at the moment. And I want to speak and voice out for male-bodied beings. Some of us have been absolutely, absurdly, immaturely, arrogantly disrespectful, violating beings, right? So I'm not even taking away that that's been in the field, and there is a precaution that we need to have, you know. So I'm not dismissing any of it, but I kind of trying to find my way in that, where I can actually meet others that feel confident enough and sovereign enough in themselves to play maturely and for us to get our needs met.
Yeah, maturity and sovereignty. What a relevant combination and practice. And indeed, like, a practice for me especially has been to become more emotionally expressive, less in the discourse, and be better, and even like turn up the volume way louder, almost to the maximum, of my expressiveness of interest in a man, because particularly the good men are like panicked to scare women, because they know, and for a reason, like I am a Mexican woman, and like you really have to be aware. It's like a martial arts meditation, super tantric practice to go in the street. Like,
Yes.
I have been carrying a knife since I was 12 years old, really, like
Wow.
like a knife. And that's
Yes.
my default, like, I am Mexican. And people that know. But now it's like also a work to understand that my brother is a great man, and I had a great father. He was not an asshole. My great grandfathers were like a little bit machos, but with a good frame somehow. And sometimes I am like, okay, I have like this shielding of paranoia, and I have been practicing and to open, like, to be, of course, first discerning boundaries, etc. But when you spot someone that you can interact with, that you feel it's valuable of your attention, and that you can feel safe, for me it has become a practice to signal that it's okay for you to take initiative and step up and step in and take the lead and do those traditional male things that are actually great things, like, I can kill the mouse with my knife. But I prefer if the guy that I am going out be the one who kills the fucking mouse. Like, you have more muscle mass. So
Yes.
why wouldn't you? So
Yes.
it's no more a competition. It's like an embodiment of feminine, of being a feminine feminist. And also like recognizing the great men and encouraging them to be the reference, to own like their good position, and also to do what, to be as aware as you already are. And it's fantastic. And still we have like this dilemma of, okay, we are conscious, now what? Now how can we go back to candor, to innocence? And I am curious about your framework of communication and boundaries that you mentioned before. Would you share like a little bit of the before and after of being clear in communicating? Like, how do you feel?
First of all, I just want to say,
Yeah.
as much as you said it with candid, that you've had to carry a knife since you were 12 years old, you said?
Yeah.
Right. So, like, just before I speak to you about the next piece, because, you know, my experience, I'm very happy to share with you and for your wonderful listeners. Like, just to embrace that for a moment, like, I just want to put a light on what you said, as much as you said it so and I know you said it sincerely and candidly because you've just been, you know, doing it for so long, like that's the norm. And you didn't just say a small knife. I mean, if you're listening to this on the podcast, on audio, you know, we're talking a good, Candia's fingers were a good foot between each other, you know, and that's just, in my opinion, you know, I grew up in a council environment, a domestic violent environment where, you know, majority of families were single parents in a very kind of, let's say, how to say, council environment. So not extreme poverty, but poverty, you know, like everyone's kind of either got a single absent father or absent mother in the boys I grew up with. You know, I was doing crime at a young age. Most of my representations of men were misogynistic, racist, sexists, you know, objectifying women. And of course I started to objectify women from a young age, yeah. Driving down the road with my fast car, thinking I'm a boy, tooting the horn at women and jeering at them, you know, shouting out the window like, hey, you know, as if that is going to attract them, or they're going to think, oh, there's a lovely man who just drove past me at 40 miles an hour shouting out the window. Oh, great. You know, the absurdity of some of my behavior, you know, we can laugh at it, but it's actually, it's prehistoric, you know,
it's
and that's right. And that's only, what am I, 49 now. So, you know, we're talking 29 years ago, right? Or a bit more, 30 years ago. So, and I've done my utmost to become more aware, more loving, more conscious, to be more respectful, to not replicate the patterns of my conditioning. And so you said, what's the question around my communication? Well, I want to lay that down as a context, because you having to carry a knife, in my opinion, is not acceptable.
No,
right?
No,
it's not acceptable. Men having to shout at women and overpower women and not see their beauty and so on is not acceptable. And I want to say that in my last relationship, based on me not communicating, this is just now, this is in the last, you know, the 3 years relationship, based on me not communicating clearly what I want, and my boundaries were not clear, and me saying yes to certain things that were giving misleading expectations, right? Staying in a relationship that I wasn't fully wanting to choose in that moment, staying in a relationship in my own comfort in, because there's parts in me that are looking for the comfort of the home, the comfort of the mother and so on, that I didn't see in the blind spot, yeah, were causing ruptures for another woman. And she, you know, she will take her responsibility, and that's fine. Her piece of staying with a man that she knows isn't choosing her and giving her what she wants, because she wants a certain type of man based on her journey, right? So we both stayed in a container, both of us doing a lot of work, her being a very wise woman, very, very knowledgeable in many ways, both of us giving support to others, and we got pulled into tragedies, parts that were scared, parts that didn't know how to communicate, and parts that overreacted. And in that, we ended up dissolving something that was that had the foundations of being something beautiful, but was, let's say, misaligned, non-compatible in certain areas. But because the love was there, we're trying to well, we are just holding on to the beautiful parts of love that we love for each other. Yeah. So I just want to say that, and I can share that piece based on me. You know, her experience is hers, but my experience. And now I'm looking at the parts work and looking at the pieces that are playing out. Not only am I grieving a lot, but I'm deeply saddened by the fact that still certain behaviors of my conditioning and my father's conditioning and my stepfather's conditioning and my lineage was still playing out in my inability to say fully and own my full sovereign transparency, that if I can't be here like this, I shouldn't have said yes in the first place. And this is a teaching. So now, yeah, thank you for listening. But I know there's a lot there, but it's context, right? It's like, it's not just black and white. There's many layers playing out.
Yes.
So just the last tiny piece I want to say to you is, so when you say, how am I communicating my boundaries and communicating now? Of course, I'm learning from that experience. And this is why I'm a little bit reluctant to go into certain dynamics or connection or sensuality or intimacy, because now the foundation of clarity and communication for me has to be of a completely different clarity, because I don't want to hurt and rupture the people that I love.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yes. And I feel that's like the true heart, your true heart, and the true heart of all of us, that we are like sane, sentient beings. There's like a basic caring for one's life and for the caring of the well-being of the beloved and the well-being of all humans and all caterpillars. And
Yes,
that's our
yes.
natural state. But when desire comes into play, I don't know, like desire has a quality of disturbance, in the sense that I I experience sensuality as the fullness of the present, almost as the embodiment of gratitude, because pleasure only happens now in the present. Like I don't feel, I feel my cheek okay, but the pleasure in my cheek is when I caress it. It's only when it's happening. It's only when I have it. And desire has the quality of lack and absence. If I have the caress in my cheek, I cannot desire that caress because I already have it. So desire has this component of lack. So for me, it's like a push and pull between the sensuality and also having the engine alive of desire for going towards new and more things. And I'm telling this as a background because I think you nailed an important point, at least for me, on having clarity upfront and communicating on one's own intention towards another person. And of course, that's the baseline, but still, it has a challenge for me because I can communicate something in regards to my desire. But once I have that desire, then things change. Like, I already have
Yes.
breakfast. I don't want more food. So what I communicated before, it lost, like, I can hold that because I have integrity and abide, but then what if my body starts to suffer because now my body wants to rest, or my body, like, now I am thirsty, or now, like, I have another craving, or
Right.
I am not into cravings and I am into pleasure and the agreement. So then the next question is how to communicate along the ever unfoldingness of life.
Yeah, yeah, but no, but this is a lovely. So this is the way you just described that. I really appreciate. So how I'm interpreting that is that our desires are changing moment to moment, right?
Yeah.
And again, if I'm just using the reference of my previous experience, because that's all I can talk about,
Yeah.
is that when we come in and we say something, we're here, right? It's here. This is what I'm here for right now, and then something changes. And what I'm starting to realize more and more, I just recorded a video and it's talking about integrity and impeccability to the word, and being able to be alive with the ever-changing moment of our desires and our wishes and our wants and our, like you just said, cravings or our aversions. Like, how can we bring that into our intimacy, into our relationship, with the foundation to know that you're also not going to take it personally when I say, Candia, I don't want to eat now, I want to sleep. And we have a foundation where you're not going to take that personally and be like, oh, so you don't want to eat anymore, so you don't want to be with me, so you reject me, so you don't want to be my partner, so you don't find me attractive, what you're going to leave me. Like, this narrative that can sometimes come in, as opposed to us being curious explorers together of the ever unfolding, changing moment. But that has to come when we're not carrying so much conditioning around what relationship means, what these terminologies mean around monogamy or polyamory or open relating or so on. You know, there's so many, I find, distortions about how we can communicate what we want in our field of sexuality, sensuality, and so on. And I read a book, actually. I want to reference this book because it might be great for some of your listeners. You might know it. It's called Open Monogamy. And it's not about open relating. That's different. Open relating is open relating. That's one framework. Polyamory is one framework, and so on. And there's even polysensual. I don't know if you've heard the term polysensual.
No.
There's even
Wow.
a term called polysensual, which is like, I like to be with one partner, but I like to be sensual with many other beings, right? So I can be polysensual, for example. So as I start to expand my kind of exploration around these different terms of relating, I come across this book called Open Monogamy. And what I love about it is exactly what you're talking about. Open, sovereign, honest, and how open are you in your relational field with your partners, yeah? And what she talked about is the spectrum of openness in the monogamous field. So just because you say you're monogamy and I say I'm monogamy doesn't mean the same thing, right? Like your understanding of monogamy and my understanding of monogamy may be very, very different. But what we do is we go into these intimate encounters, we go into these relationships with this kind of invisible agreements that we're somehow saying the same thing when we haven't even spoken about it. You know, we haven't even got clear on the foundations or the principles or values with which you're living your so-called terminology of relating. Does this make sense?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So this is, I don't know if that answers your question, but this is the piece where I'm at right now. I'm realizing that prior to even, I mean, maybe I'm even questioning right now, like, if you're in a certain, maybe an intimacy space or a temple space, or you're in a dance space and you want to have some intimacy with somebody, or you have a clear container for your exploration, that's one thing. But in terms of anything more, I'm just realizing that the level of communication that's required is just way more than I've ever really given it.
Yeah, like I feel it's extremely important to have the talk, like the what are we talk, because labeling, it's not only labeling, it's signifying through the symbol of word and the vibration, and naming someone. Like, my name is Candia, and it's not just a word, it's a meaning that I am imbued with, or I imbued the word of my name with a meaning. It's like also naming the space that I give the beloved or the multiple beloveds inside my subjectivity. Like, you are not a stranger, and you are not someone dear as my kindergarten best friends that I am still friends to, till nowadays, 40 years after. They have a place in me, but it's not a competing place as the one you have. And also, I want to know what place do I have in your life, because perhaps for me you are somebody important in my life, and for you I am just a colleague or a client,
Right.
or a friend, or what, or even a fling. And I feel that's an invitation to an eternal self-inquiry. Like, yes, I am relating to you, but primordially I am relating to myself in regards to you, in regards to myself first, and then in regards to you. Like, how do I, we are interacting, but how do I feel about the interaction? And then I am sharing about the interaction, and then I am trying to make sense of my subjectivity. And it's very challenging, because there are things that are very hard to put into words, because words can only describe 5, 10, maybe 20 meanings in a word, or synonyms. But like, the universe and the human experience is beyond words. So I feel that's one of the challenges, like, to bring it down into words, and also embody that words, so the body and the nonverbal cues accompany. It's not like, yeah, I love you, then I love you, like, with all the being. And
Yes.
and then I want to mention something. about this challenge of the nuances of what's wrong and right, uh, especially being me a Mexican, because there are lines that are super fine. Like, I don't like carrying a knife. Like, it's a default. I have no problem about that, but it's like, that shouldn't be. But I lived in Amsterdam a few years, and there was a moment of realization that I kind of felt insecure as a woman because men were not looking at me in the street and they were not calling me mamacita, I am gonna eat you until I pull you down your period. That Mexican men call call you those horrible things, but we are
Mom,
kind of used to.
oh my God. It's absurd, isn't it?
Yeah, but then I felt
You were
like
missing that.
I was missing I was missing that, but not exactly that. And that's what I mean with the nuance on communicating desire and needs and etc. And I was like, at least like, welcome, pretty lady, or I don't know, like a mini tiny compliment or a wink in the eye or some no nothing nothing. It was like eyes, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I felt, in a way, it was interesting because I felt like disgendered and completely neutralized. And there are women, like women can be walking in the streets with their tits out in Amsterdam, and perhaps like they are seen from far away, but it's not like in Mexico, like all the bricklayers from the construction would be like, marry me or whatever,
Yeah.
you know?
The bricklayers would be falling off the
Of the
scaffolding.
construction. Yeah, so it's like, where is the meeting point between this clarity and responsibility and sovereignty and candor and warmness and bodily responsiveness and the expression of that can be inappropriate because we, especially in intimacy or in passion, like we want the je ne sais quoi going on, or that thing is like flatlining.
Right.
Right.
No, but you know what? Like, so much is going on in my whole, like, the visions that are going through my head right now. It's
Bricklayers.
no, because you know what? I don't know if I can verbalize this, but I'm like, again, I'm referencing different things coming up. Right? I'm reading a phenomenal book for the third time, but it's like I call it my Bible.
Wow,
But
third time.
it's talking about the battle of the sexes, right? And this is a couple that have been together 40 years, and they talk about the healing biotape of the battle of the sexes. And the battle of the sexes, they talk about being at the root of, you know, most of our dysfunction. And I do find sometimes there's such a divide between the male-bodied beings and the female-bodied beings. And right now, just for talking for anyone out there who's identifying as queer or, you know, any other gender ratio, I'm just talking kind of just physical, you know, body as a you know,
DNA.
gender. Yeah, DNA body gendered as a man and gendered as a woman based
Yeah,
on
like
you know
high
and, yeah.
testosterone.
Exactly right. So we've got this like constant, and I know maybe we're trying to address this more and more in our consciousness now, but we don't know how to come together. Right? It's like we don't know how to meet. We don't know how to communicate to each other. We don't know how to listen to each other. We're like, but we want each other like crazy. You know, it's like we want you. Oh, I want you so bad, but I have no fucking clue how to speak to you. So I just shout at you from the scaffolding. Oh, big tits. Oh, I love you. You know, yeah. I'm gonna drink your period every week for the next month. You know, and it's just like, you know, it's so archaic, you know, and I just dream for a moment where, you know, these desires and these fusions can harmonize on some level, and of course we're all having different theories and ideas of how that can happen now with communication, but at the same time you said something wonderful, which I don't know if we can maybe hone in on this a bit, but you said, isn't it interesting? you at least you were receiving some interest, not that you were seeking it, but at least you're getting acknowledgement of like that you are here, you're beautiful, somebody wants you, even though they're some of their approaches are very still deeply primal. Then you're going into some other regions and we want to say, but we're not allowed, so we suppress that. So there's a suppressing of our desire and our cravings and our wants because, you know, we might, whatever, it's wrong or we're not allowed to do it, or, you know, somebody feels violated and so on and so forth. So I'm like, I guess what I'm curious about is how we come to this space where our desires and our urges and our primal essence is not suppressed and put down as a sin, but how we can learn to express it. You said something lovely, like warmly and affectionately and respectfully, and, you know, and not feel wronged. Like even today, you know, I was at the beach this morning and you know, I observe the female form, and I'm, you know, thoroughly attracted to and fascinated by it, and I look at all the different beings that I look at, but some particular forms take my attention more. It's, you know, part of my conditioning, part of what I desire. And I'm just aware in this more, you know, the line of work I'm in and so on, I'm almost like, am I allowed to look, you know? Am I allowed to look and acknowledge that there's something that I really like looking at? Like I'm allowed to look at a beautiful tree and go, wow, look at that tree, so beautiful, so vast, so open. Oh, look at this mountain, it's so big, so beautiful. But I can't look at a man or a woman and go, wow, I really admire this form that I'm seeing, you know, because then it has so many different connotations. So I'm just in my own exploration of that. It's like what's like recently I was in the gym and there was a female form that I could feel. I was like, whoa, there's attraction here. And I noticed that I was looking, and then I was like, okay, what's allowed, what's not allowed to look? I was just questioning that, you know. Am I, you know? And of course, I wasn't looking in this, like, you know, in the gym, just looking over. But I just noticed that, and then on the second time, I was like, I've already seen her. It's fine. That's it. I don't need to take energy from her, and I want to make sure I'm not taking any energy from her. So I made that conscious decision, and then at the same time, I was like, just how do I receive, like I would look at a flower or a tree or anything else, and just receive the beauty with which I perceive that I just received, and just drink that in. And it doesn't need to be anything more, and it doesn't need to be a violation, and I don't want anything from her, and I don't want her number, and I don't want to marry her, you know? Is it making sense where I'm coming from? And so it's like, I know it's subtle, it's nuances, you know?
And you know, I love it because like, like I feel that the sensualists here in the audience can get the picture, because it's clearly painted like on both sides, like the bricklayers and then the coldness in Amsterdam. And you see the gorgeous women in the red light district, and it's like I was drooling because I am not gay, but like those were gorgeous women, and I recognized beauty, and I was like stunned of like the primal disembodiment of
Primal disembodiment.
people in general, like yes, acknowledge, maybe I could get a hard on or whatever, but then it's like, okay, intercourse but not sensual intercourse, or sensuality but not sexual, or fantasy. Like I feel it's very important to have this clarity without making it self-compartmentalization, like amputating your parts and separating, but rather understanding what's going on in you and navigate it. Like you said, like, okay, I acknowledge that there's like this female form that is super attractive. It's calling my attention. And okay, I realize that I don't want a number. I don't want to marry her. Okay, so now I know where I am standing in the context of my reality. And from there, I can be more honest, like, okay, my desire is just like contemplate for a moment, for a fleeting moment, her beautiful existence, same as with a flower of a tree. And then it popped into my mind, like the story of Sofia Loren, this great Italian actress that is already like 85 years old or something. Do you know her?
No,
Sofia,
no, tell me.
Sofia
Yeah.
Loren, it's like from the 50s, like Marilyn Monroe, like, and she is still like 175, huge boobs, super body, and she made a lot of films with Marcello Mastroianni, that was like the Brad Pitt from that era, like a Marlon Brando, like super handsome man, and she was super hot, and she was married to a film producer, like a rich Italian mogul that produced and monopolized cinema. And a few weeks ago, I understood why the only man in Sofia Loren's films that the husband produced was this man. And Sofia Loren had these passionate scenes with Marcelo, and Marcelo with, and you can still smell the chemistry, like the hormonal exchange that was fucking going on there like crazy. And they made a lot of money. And who produced those films? The husband. So he was okay with kind of sharing his wife with that man, with Marcelo, in the context of being a huge business for the three of them, and she being his wife, and in real life, Marcelo and Sofia being great friends, like fraternal friends, utterly platonic, with great chemistry, and everything's in place. And now I am very curious, like, how did they got to that refinement? Because it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Like, they sorted out somehow the jealousy or the attachments or the whatever, and now I can, yeah, I really appreciate it. I feel it's an expression of what we have spoken of, maturity and sovereignty.
Yeah, it's bringing up something. I was in a conversation yesterday with a dear beloved friend, and we were talking about like the innocence of love. And maybe this brings us, I know we're coming maybe close to, I mean, we're just getting started, I feel, because we're kind of laying down the context of, like, our exploration as sexual beings, as sensual beings, and you said it earlier as well, like, we really, even if we're looping back to something you said maybe, closer to the beginning of our talk, you said about when we want to come together, in love, and the beloved is everywhere. So, from a kind of, let's say, a tantric exploration of life, is that we are making love to life all the time. Sensuality is actually, the love making of existence, right? It's like we're in love with the senses, and I know we're using terms like good looking or not good looking for us, right? Preferences of beauty, but ultimately, when you take back the lens of the, the magnitude of the miracle that we're witnessing, like in all forms, yeah, on all forms, in, like, it doesn't matter age, looks, even that you can look, sometimes I can look at like a really aged 70-year-old, 80-year-old, 90-year-old sat on the road, and the crinkles and the creases and the lived expression, and I can look at them and I just feel so much love pouring in me of this divine expression, right? So when we're playing in that field of the present moment and drinking in the love that's all around us, it dissolves this individual persona love, when this persona love so often is rooted in fear. In this book that I just mentioned to you, she says a line: you cannot be faithful unless you can love others too, right? And she's not just advocating polyamory, she's not advocating that you should all be having sex with everyone else. She's saying you've got to be able to love everyone and multiple beings, and your love does not have a cap on it.
Yes.
And this is another piece. Yeah, please, you want to jump on that? I can
Yes,
see your
because I
piece.
feel that you cannot help it. Like, something very interesting is that the marriage the marriage ring is in the fourth finger, and it represents sex, and the middle finger represents the heart, and the marriage and commitment ring is in the finger of the sex, because somehow you have some agency
Right.
on
Control.
your sex control, but
Yes.
you cannot control your heart. You cannot put a
No.
ring on the finger of the heart, because even if you don't want to love whom you love, you fucking love that person. But
Yeah.
it's up to you and to your own maturity and sovereignty to decide if you are gonna build up on that love and and intertwine to write a story together or not. So
Yes.
it's not the
Beautiful.
same agency than, okay,
Yes.
like that man is super papacito, Brad Pitt, come here. There are people
Yeah.
that doesn't know who Brad Pitt is. I am surprised.
Yeah.
Neither Madonna. Can you imagine? So, well,
You should try to find him with your knife.
yeah. So
Hey, you're mine.
yeah, Mexican style. Claim what you want. Like we have a saying here in Mexico: let it go, or let him go, or let her go. Let it go, and if it's yours, it will come back. And if
Yes.
not,
Yes.
search him, find him, and kill him.
I didn't know that little extra piece.
Yeah,
Let it go. Let it go. If it goes and it doesn't come back, then find him, search him,
searching
and
and
kill
kill.
him.
Yeah, like the Mexican way, and it's like acknowledging what we want as well. Like, for me, it's very important a certain Latin rapture. Like, I need to feel like the don't go, and it's like, okay, I know that this person is gonna let me go if I tell him that I really it's over. But if it's not over super dead, I want like, oh, and the thing is, like, perhaps it's perhaps it's an art. Perhaps it's an art of relating and living and maturing to fine tuning the deal with the other person, and adjusting and dancing together and opening, and like, yeah, like, be more rapturous, or not, like, control yourself, like, I need some boundaries, I need some safety, and navigating. And I feel it's a moment to celebrate that we are having this conversation, because I don't know if 10 years ago, like, we even had like the verbiage, the words, the language to have a conversation to signify this phenomena that is so intimate to humanity, relating with other people in any way, like from love, or just sensually, or sensually and romantically, sensually, romantically, and sexually, or just sexually. And it's great that we, perhaps the previous generations, and now we are in this moment of finally some openness that allows us to see ourselves with less preconceptions, and to see the other people also with less preconceptions. Even though we are like to trying to do the right thing, I feel this is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, as you're speaking, I'm just seeing this kind of like, if you see us as energy, energy, vibration, frequency, and consciousness is excuse me, consciousness is is this vast intelligence, right? Like, I have me as Simon with my limited conditioning and knowledge and understanding, this intelligence that is this form, you know, this formless that became form, that is here vibrating sound, and you're vibrating sound, and we're somehow communing, and people are listening through sound vibrations that are going down through some sort of invisible channel, and they can hear you and I speaking. And consciousness, it seems, is doing its utmost best to reframe the whole way with which we love and communicate and express ourselves. And you know, there has been so much rupture, and one beautiful man that I listen to says that so many distortions in love and relationship are just innocent misunderstandings, you know, because we haven't been able to express what we're really thinking and feeling. And I know at the moment there's so much talk of, like, you know, men don't understand women, or men don't listen to women, or women have feelings, and there's this kind of a little bit this still this kind of, as I said earlier, this battle of man versus woman, feminine versus masculine. And all I long for is this real understanding that we are already yin and yang. We are already whole and complete. We are already here as divine manifestations of life. Yes, we can learn new things. Yes, we're unskilled in certain things, but ultimately we are miraculous raw intelligence. And if we can just meet each other knowing that, okay, you have certain qualities that maybe I don't like, that you may or may not learn, maybe you will adapt them, maybe you won't, but can I love in this way of seeing you beyond the filters of my own projection of how you should or shouldn't be. And this has been a big challenge for me, because I have these high expectations, high ideals, these high bars of standard with which I want to be as a man in order to show up for the woman, you know. And I think what I would like to call in, kind of as a dream, as a wish, is we could just really learn to come back to that original innocence, you know, of that curiosity of exploration, and that we're not out to get each other, and that actually we can be teammates, we can work together. And this is man to man, woman to woman, any other gender to gender, like, you know, that we can all do this together, this thing called relating, you know, and we can explore ourselves and play with ourselves and elevate ourselves in love and joy and playfulness, and not let this fear take over so much of our ability to love, you know, to experience this great gift that we've been given.
Yes, to know that we are already one together, and that we have this miraculous raw intelligence, and why not embarking on that journey of ever unfolding more layers of ourselves, like this great jazz player Miles Davis, I think he said,
yes,
it takes a while of practicing and playing to sound like yourself. And you know, like Picasso, those bulls that he painted with a single line, just like a kid. And like he finally achieved to paint like a little kid when he was 18 years old. So like this process of unfolding, of dismantling and relating with reality, I feel that's a great invitation of this lovely interview, Simon. I really appreciate talking with you today.
Yeah, likewise. I know we're just on some level scratching the surface, but I like that analogy too of yeah, I love that you use the music, actually, a music analogy as well, because music, we are pleasure instruments now, and we're learning ourselves all the time, and we're getting the chords a bit wrong sometimes, you know. Yeah. It's like doesn't sound so good, and then sometimes it's like and it's like, wow, this is really, we're flowing now. And I feel that we need all of that, and to be to soften into that. And I know there's many layers, as we've touched on today, but I think conversations like this, as you said, into the quantum field, and we keep doing the work on ourselves, and keep showing up, and keep learning the skill. One last piece is that when you said about instrument, it's such a great analogy. When we're learning the instrument, it's very sticky. and we're not getting there. And then when we've learned a few songs, we're like, great, now we know a few songs. But then the spectrum with where we can go with a musical instrument is just eternal, no? I remember a very amazing musician saying that even as they get better and better and better, it just opens up more and more potential of where they can go.
And
Yeah.
just to loop it back into what has been like at the core of this conversation, that has been communication, like how we bridge each other, well, through our breath, carrying meaning, that is speaking words. And in a way, like Miles Davis says, it takes time to sound like yourself. It takes practice. So yeah, indeed, communicating with someone, the beloved or any other person, it may take a while of consistent practice to state boundaries and then calibrate and find the tone, to find the voice of your expressiveness, to say what you want, what you need, and also to invite the other person to share with you and to commune with each other. And perhaps the other person and their voice creates a transmission to you and opens your heart, and is wonderful. But it's lovely to see it as a lifelong unfolding practice, not an ultimate state of arrival, but like okay, let's like jazz players, they make effects out of the mistakes, and perhaps like allow ourselves to just speak our voice. Perhaps the voice tracks, perhaps we start sobbing or crying or whatever. Just do it, and along the way you will learn to take maybe more baby steps and emotional risks of vulnerability, to claim this utter state of innocence from which Picasso painted. And I feel great lovers love that. We are all those great lovers, and why wouldn't we explore embodying it? So, Simon, tell us, how can we learn more from you?
I don't know if anyone can learn anything from me. I think I'm just learning from the whole unfolding, like I feel, yeah, and I say that I really see that this last experience that I had is humbled me to just say that, you know, we're just. I always feel like I'm at the beginning, Candia, or like it's always feels like it's at the beginning of opening, Sometimes I feel like there's parts of me that feel like I've really I've got this down, I've learned this, I've got it, and then something opens and shows me that, did you look here, or did you, did you have this? So I think I'm always just in the learning, this beginner's mind of learning. But you can of course just, I guess my message is that we can just speak our truth and love ourselves fully, and keep showing up, keep getting back on the horse, and that we are the co-creators, the writers and the producers and the directors of this quantum story, this mythos that we're in. You and I are telling a story right now. You and I just shared love together. You and I never met each other. We found each other online, and here we are sharing this. And whoever hears it, that is the offering.
That is the offering.
That's the offering. I don't. Whether or not you want something else from me or not, this is the offering.
Great offering at the reach of everyone. Yeah. We have a resonant love, heart beating inside our chest, like our internal sun, our internal star, that also warms other people, other presences. Thank you so much, Simon. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I feel this is a lot of things came out, and I feel we managed to be candorous and candid, and share stories that makes this experience and these concepts more human and relatable, and that's precious.
That's so precious. And yeah, I want to say thank you for just saying yes. And I also want to say thank you to everyone whoever's listening. Well, you know, we never know who's listening, but are you listening? You are contributing fully to the expression of this dance that you and I shared. So I really want to acknowledge everyone that's witnessed us and been with us and gave their time and energy to be with us. So thank you so much for what you're doing and what you're representing in the world. So, and I hope that we share this, and I hope that we stay in touch.
Yes, let's stay in touch. Thank you, Simon. And also thank you, Sensualist, for being here. Please, if you don't already have the free guide to awaken sensuality, go grab it in my website, which is www.candiaraquel.com, Candia Raquel, which is my name.com. And as always, do remember to take the time to sense the fire of your sensuous pleasure, to then go on with this embodied life force vitality and share the flame in the world. See you next time.